What a day for the markets in general. There has been a ton of crazy news stories coming out, and I'm excited to get right into it for today. This is Pulse on the Market. I'm your host, Jaden Vrains, founder of Vrains Capital, and this show is designed to help you guys just stay in the loop with everything regarding markets, or just stocks, crypto, real estate, whatever it be. I'm here to keep you guys in the loop so you can make better, more educated financial decisions. Let's get right into it for today. Just to start off with the indexes to see how the market's doing. The Dow is up 0.4%, the NASDAQ is down 0.73%, and the S&P is down 0.06%. So yesterday, the S&P actually hit another all-time high that continued to rise. The NASDAQ, just because of how heavily weighted it is in technology, it has been getting whacked by AMD and NVIDIA and all the chip sectors, and also when NVIDIA, AMD, TSM, all these semiconductors and chip companies do well, we see that the NASDAQ performs better than the S&P and the Dow, just because of the weightings in the indexes. So it's been a pretty mixed day. We got some winners and some losers. We got NVIDIA that is down another 3%. So yesterday they spiked. They went up around $50, $60 a share, and it was around 5%, and now they are back down. They've been super volatile recently with days of positive 3% for 4 days straight, and then we have a few rough days there where they were dropping. At one point, they made a whole swing of about $100. It only dropped around 60 that day, but still, it was a swing about $100 per share. And we saw the same thing with SMCI. It's one of those stocks that seems to be kind of tethered to NVIDIA, just as the way the stock moves. When NVIDIA starts to perform well, so does SMCI. I've been tracking both of them side by side for a little bit here. Let's get right into the news stories for today. So, let's see here. So, Dollar Store, they just had their earnings report. They're planning on closing 30 stores amid inflation pressures. That makes sense. It's the Dollar Tree. You can only hold on to those prices for so long, and it has not been doing so well. So Family Dollar, also owned by Dollar Tree, is planning to close 1,000 stores. So with 600 closures slated for the first half of 2024. So that is bad news for these cheap. I mean, I like these stores. You can find so much stuff for so cheap. I mean, if you need to write a card to someone, you can find them for $1. Where if you go to a Walgreens or any other store, you can find those for around $5, $6, and it's expensive, but they still have a lot of things that are very cheap. But amidst this high inflation, it is very difficult to be profitable in those stores. IBM announced job cuts in its marketing and communications division during a brief meeting led by the company's CCO. That's the Chief Compliance Officer. And the exact number of roles impacted, we don't really know yet, but they did announce layoffs. All right, here's some news on the Alaska plane incident. So that was back when Boeing, that was one of their planes, and Alaska was the company, and the panel flew off mid-flight. It was missing 4 bolts, and it lands in a teacher's backyard, as you've heard on the podcast many times. And apparently, the Boeing engineers, had advised that the aircraft undergo maintenance. However, the airline chose to keep it in service to complete some scheduled flights. This raises questions about safety protocols and maintenance decisions, and this is just not a very good look for Alaska. Today, their stock, I think they're positive on the day. Yes, they're up 0.78%, but this is not very good news because they were being advised to undergo maintenance, and then the panel flies off mid-flight, and this caused havoc on the plane. There's people with trauma just because of how scary it was for them. So not very good news. Boeing has been one of the worst stocks of the year. It has been performing terribly. And let's just pull up their chart for just year to date. I'm going to give you the numbers. So they're currently trading at 183. Year to date, they're down almost 30%. Over last year, 11%. So their week, month, 3 month, 6 month, year to date, 1 year, all these numbers are very negative, and by at least 10%. So they're just getting hammered. The technicals are stating a strong sell. Analysts are still bullish on it. They're saying buy with a 1 year price target of 261. Right now it's at 183. And I mean, shoot, if we would have looked at it at the beginning of the year, it was trading back in December around 260, 270 per share. Now it's at 180. So it's just been getting hammered, news report after news report. And along with that, I don't know if you guys have heard this news, but there has been a Boeing whistleblower that died. Apparently he committed suicide. His name was John Barrett. He's a former Boeing quality control manager. and he turned whistleblower, and he passed away by apparent suicide. So this prompted an investigation into his death, and I mean, he was in the midst of a case against the company and just magically dies. Of course, we've seen this happen way too many times. So there is an investigation on his death, and there is a lot of speculation that he did not kill himself. Obviously, there's just too much incentive. There's too much reason behind why he did not kill himself. So we'll see how this investigation goes, but that is terrible news for Boeing as well. And they have just been getting hammered day after day. Today they're down 0.15%, not too bad, but it's just been a string of terrible days for them since the beginning of the year. Little news on Biden-Trump. So, Joe, this stuff is important because elections really do affect the market. And Joe Biden and Donald Trump have been officially confirmed as the presidential nominees for their parties. So they're paving the way for a rematch of the 2020 election. This is the first rematch since 1956. We haven't seen this in literally 70 years. That's crazy. And so we'll see how this turns out. It's not looking too great for Joe Biden. The country in general hasn't been too happy with how he's been performing, and but it's kind of crazy because there's so many people 4 years ago that said like they would rather die than vote for Trump, or they would feel too immoral, or there's no chance they would ever do that. They just can't get around to it. And now they're saying, man, a lot of those same people were saying we should have voted for Trump. I'm neutral, just politically. I do want what's best for the country and what I personally think is best, and for my life, the life of my family, obviously. And so I base my decisions off that, not in particular with any party or person. But this could be very controversial, especially if Trump wins again. I mean, he spiked a lot of controversy the last time he won, and also leading up to the second election. So we could see some pretty crazy news stories coming out with that. All right, let's go back to the news story. So Eli Lilly, there's some good news on them today. They're up on the day. Let me double check this. So they're currently up 0.5%, so around $3.50 a share. They're up to $758.54 a share. So they have pretty solid news. So they're partnering with Amazon Pharmacy. They want to streamline delivery of drugs like Zepbound. So this enhances patient access via its direct-to-customer platform, Lilly Direct. And so they're now partnered with Amazon. I mean, the issue really hasn't been demand. Like, there's already plenty of demand for these drugs, for these weight loss drugs from Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly. And the real problem really is just supply. I mean, they're creating factories to produce more of these drugs because the demand is just far too high for these. Not just from people with diabetes, but just from overweight people. Obesity is a huge problem that just want to lose weight quickly because these things really do work. All right, let's see here. Okay. I want to give you guys the best news stories. So there's news on TikTok. So apparently TikTok has two options. They either sell the company or get banned in the US. Those are like the two options here, because it is very likely that they do get banned in the US, and we are their biggest users. I mean, their biggest client base is here in the US. The amount of hours that are watched daily on TikTok is absurd. The amount of data that they have to store, also absurd. And they're being forced to either sell or withdraw. Either way, this does not look very good for TikTok. We'll see what ends up happening with them. So mortgage demand rose as 30-year fixed rates dropped to 6.84 from 7.02, driving a 7.1% rise in applications week over week. So, and the refinance applications jumped 12% week over week, and that's up 5% year over year. And so, I mean, just from this, 0.18% drop, I mean, that's still over the long run, for 30 years, that is a huge difference. And people are refinancing, trying to take advantage of these better rates. I wouldn't be surprised if towards the end of the year they dropped even more. No one's for sure. And there has been hints at rate cuts for around June, but I honestly don't think that the Fed should jump too quickly to any decision to cut rates, mainly because it's like an injury where if you break your leg and you start playing out way too early, that it could get even worse, and you can even spend more time in that cast. So I'm with that. I think that they should really make sure it's all healed, that the broken bone has been healed before they jump into anything rational and just start cutting rates just to have an adverse side effect that's even worse. That's the last thing we need. So I want to make sure they got it good before cutting rates. I can wait a little longer as long as in the long run it's better for the economy of the U.S. All right, Britain saw a turnaround in its economy in January, so they saw 0.2% growth in GDP. Especially with GDP, even the smallest gains like that are pretty huge. So this was driven by a rebound in construction output following a shallow recession in the second half of the previous year. So the UK is really starting to bounce back here. The economy in general in Europe hasn't been the greatest, but I wouldn't be surprised to see them turn it around here in a little bit. All right. Is there anything else? So Bitcoin. Before I get into that, just for upcoming earnings to keep you guys in the loop with those, we had Dollar Tree that released a revenue of $8.64 billion, which is 11% year over year. So they missed that by $30 million, and their EPS was $2.55 per share. That's up 25% year over year. They missed it by $0.1 a share. And currently, how they're doing, because their guidance was so bad and because of the need to close stores due to inflation, not surprised that it's down this low, but it is down 14%. Oof, they really took a hit today. And that is down $21 a share. They're down to 128.67. So this is currently at 10:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And so they have just been getting clobbered today. I mean, they're up year over year on the revenue and EPS by quite a bit, but still the guidance is terrible. And guidance tends to affect the price even more than earnings and revenue, because people want future growth. That's what they're looking for. Something to justify the PE ratios. All right. Upcoming earnings for Thursday, we got Adobe, Dollar General, Ulta Beauty, Key Holdings, Dick's Sporting Goods, Futu Holdings, Smartsheet. So we got a lot of earnings reports coming out tomorrow, and I'll keep you guys updated on how those go. Nothing really crazy to look out for. We got, nothing too nuts. Smartsheet is the only one that has crazy numbers right now in terms of growth. So analysts are estimating $255 million in revenue, which is up 20% year over year, and $0.18 per share, which is up 157% year over year. Pretty small numbers, but the growth is there. And let's see how they're doing with speculation of a solid earnings report, or at least solid growth. So their ticker is SMAR. And they're up 0.67% right now. And it'll be tomorrow after the close is when they report. Perfect. All right. So one of my favorite stocks, Texas Roadhouse, is doing well today. They're up 2.7%, up $4 a share. I think they're a solid growth company. Their dividend has been increasing steadily. I think they're a solid dividend and just constant growth company. Whereas you can invest in companies like AT&T and Verizon. AT&T has like a 6% dividend, but their stock decreases by around 10% a year just because they are not a growth company. And so, you're getting 6% a year on your dividends, but you're losing more. So that doesn't make sense to me in companies like that. Those are value traps to the max. Let's see here. Apple has been looking very terribly recently. They had one of their first sell ratings. They haven't had one of those bad boys in a very, very long time. They used to be the ultra growth stock. They used to be like Nvidia. And then they passed it to Tesla, and Tesla's officially passed it to Nvidia apparently. So they used to be super solid, but they are just not doing too well. What started this was a decline in the iPhone sales, specifically in China. It was down pretty bad because there's that new phone, Huawei, I think is the name of it. And also in the United States, it's been decreasing, but it's taken a hit in China, and China was one of their big customers technically. Nike, one of the plays I like about Nike is their long-term options plays. So they're kind of in a restructuring phase where they're cutting costs. They're kind of transitioning, trying to be more efficient they're trying to increase their efficiency. They're up 1.5% today. So, not too long ago I bought some long calls, and they've already appreciated quite a bit. This was back when the stock was trading a lot lower too, around $99 a share. And it's only at 102 right now, but still, for the long term, just an increase in around a couple percent has increased my calls by quite a bit, because I bought them for around 70 days in the future in April, and they are doing quite well right now. And I might hold on to them a little longer. And I'm not going to hold on to them till April 19th or whenever the call expires, but I'll probably end up just taking some profits pretty soon here if it has another solid day. We'll see here. But I like the long-term Nike options. They're very cheap too, And once they get into the money, then their delta, which basically, I mean, it states, if a delta is 0.5, let me explain this real quick. If a delta is 0.5, it's usually used as a probability, like, oh, you have a 50% chance of it staying out of the money or in the money. But it's also used if the stock goes up $1, then the option will increase 50 cents. And then usually the closer you are to your strike price, the higher the delta becomes. It becomes more risky and also more per change. If it goes up $1, it'll go up around 90 cents or down $1. Yeah, same thing. You lose 90 cents on the option contract. So, I mean, it'll never be 100. I mean, very rarely will it ever be 100. It has to be way out of the money for it to be at that price. All right. So, the news on crypto. So, crypto continues to go up. There's a lot of people speculating that this is the new gold, is that Bitcoin is going to replace gold as that standard. And we have certain stocks certain cryptos like Avalanche that have been going up dramatically. Just a few months ago, they're at 30. Now they're at 53. I've profited off that quite a bit. We got Chainlink up to $20, Superverse up to 1.3. They were nothing just a little bit ago. And we are just seeing some intense gains out of crypto. Bitcoin, which is the one everyone watches. Let's just see what they're at right now. They hit an all-time high, I believe it was today, of 73,000, almost 74. Now they're at 72,675, so they're still doing awfully well, but still, they have a lot of room to grow. There's speculation that they will hit 100K, which I honestly believe that they can hit 100K, especially after the halving event. It might go down a little bit after the halving event because people are going to speculate that it's, buy the rumor, sell the news. Nothing really happened. But once the demand increases for Bitcoin because of the supply drop, then boom, I think that we will see a huge spike in Bitcoin and that it'll top 100K. That is just a guess. It could go down to 0 for all I know. Who knows? But it is very risky, 100% risky. But I'm bullish on it. I think it has the potential to keep going up. So that is it for today. If you have any questions or you want me to dive into a stock specifically, just reach out to me on marketpulse.io. I will get back to you as soon as I can. And make sure to leave a good rating to help me out so more people can hear the show. I appreciate you listening. You guys are the best ever. And once again, here's my little disclaimer. This is not investment advice whatsoever. You should consult with a professional before making investment decisions. It's all risky. You could lose all your money. And this does not constitute financial investment or legal advice. And your results after listening to this podcast, I'm not responsible for any of them. Any losses or damages that may occur. And you are 100% viable for your investing decisions. I have nothing to do with it, all right? So there's my disclaimer. It's getting worse and worse as time goes on. But love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow.